How does Ben Johnson build off of last year's success of Minnesota going 19-15, but with a lot of new faces this season? I'm going to go through some of the offensive and defensive concepts of what Minnesota might try to run this year. It was a big day for Minnesota when Dawson Garcia announced he would be returning for his final season of college basketball. He is absolutely going to be the focal point of their offense, being able to score in a multitude of ways. We're going to go through a few of them right here. The first one being his ability to post up. So Minnesota comes out in kind of a horn set, two bigs at the elbows, two guards in the corners, and then ball up at the top of the key. And you're just going to see Garcia trying to get space right here. And that's all they're trying to do. Get him the ball. This is designed for him to catch in the post and be able to go to work. Now, with Barnhizer falling, Northwestern scrambles a bit. Okay, now they're back kind of in their thing. And Garcia just has a good ability of being able to kind of facilitate and handle the ball while also still being able to go and get his. And that's what he does right here. I mean, he just gets to that left hand that he loves to do and can go over the top and has really good touch with it. Another aspect of the post-up game for Dawson Garcia is his ability to kind of like almost post-drive. And I'll talk about what that means in just a second. But you're going to see Minnesota set up here. They're just going to set this like kind of 45 screen for Garcia to get it at the high post right here. And then they're going to clear out. And so what I mean kind of by the post-drive is this is considered a post up per se because it's back to the basket, but he'll kind of use it. He sometimes will maybe like really just drive all the way to the rim. Sometimes it'll be like a one or two dribble drive back into more of a full post up. And that's what's going to happen here. So 1-2 dribbles, and now he's going to get kind of into the post, being able to back his guy down. So it's kind of more of an ISO, but using his size and more of a big man kind of skill set of being able to kind of back guys down and get all the way to the rim. What really helps set Garcia apart is that he still has to be respected on the perimeter, even though if maybe the best part of his game comes on the interior. So you can see his paint catches it here. Garcia's trying to set a little bit of a flare screen, and then he's just going to float to the top. And you're not going to run like a ton of sets per se to get Garcia open threes, but he understands the offense. He understands where he needs to be. So now he knows, okay, with Payne being right here, my guy is probably, because since Garcia is the four-man, my guy is probably going to be the one trying to help down low, down here at the rim. So let me get into a spot where if Payne is in trouble, he can kick it out to me. And that's exactly what happens right here. So now Garcia, he can catch and shoot. He can also pick and pop for three if needed in the pick and roll game. Now, the last two seasons, Minnesota has kind of had a very high-level facilitator at the point guard spot, running a lot of pick and rolls, allowing him to create. Last year's Elijah Hawkins, Talon Cooper the year before that. We're going to go through a play of Elijah Hawkins from last year, even though he is no longer on the team, just kind of to show what it looks like. And so they're going to give him the ball and just really let him go to work. So now it's a empty-sided pick and roll, nobody in this corner. And Hawkins is just going to have to create. So you're going to re-screen. Once he gets downhill, that's where he's looking to kind of create for everybody else. Draws Payne in a bit, or Danger in a bit, and now is able to hit Payne on the roll, allow him to go up. And so that's just kind of a lot of what the Minnesota offense was at times. But now as you look at this year's roster, there isn't necessarily like a true point guard. There are multiple guys that maybe are more combo guard with some point guard capabilities to them. One of them is going to be incoming transfer Lukai Patterson. And so what he was able to do at Charlotte is he's more of a scoring guard, but he can facilitate if needed. And so you're going to see this is going to be him right here. They're going to flow into another kind of empty-sided pick and roll. And so now as he comes off this screen, he's going to actually refuse it to go baseline. And he is trying to score. Elijah Hawkins, he wants to pass. Patterson is looking to score first and foremost for everything, but once he gets here, realizes, okay, the defense is rotated in. I drew in a lot of him and a lot of the defense. I'm going to hit this cutter right here, allow him to go up. So he has that to him. It just maybe isn't the most natural instinct. Another guy that fits into that category is Minnesota's Mike Mitchell, and he returns after a very good year last season for the Gophers, but now he's probably going to have more responsibility, especially at the point guard spot for him. And so he's probably more of a natural two guard, but again, he's played point guard in the past. He has that in him to do it. How much does Minnesota go to it? I'm not sure. You're going to see him here. And these are kind of like scenarios I think it could happen a lot too. More of maybe where he isn't necessarily a true point guard, but he's facilitating more from the two guard spot of, okay, I'm going to catch here, size up, rip, and get downhill. And so again, it's still kind of putting pressure on the defense for him to score. But now, once that score's not there, I'm just going to kick out to somebody else on the wing, allow them to go and create a bucket. Now, there wasn't a ton of off-ball movement always last season for Minnesota, especially with like being a high pick and roll team with Elijah Hawkins or just kind of letting Garcia go to work. But I think with Minnesota's personnel of having more kind of combo guard-ish players, especially on the guards and the wings, like they have maybe some more shooters and so more ability to potentially run off-ball stuff. And so, like I said, they didn't run a ton of it last season, but an example here, Hawkins is going to get the pick and roll. He's eventually going to come off, and you're just going to see this down screen for Mitchell, right? And it isn't anything crazy, but Mitchell is probably the best shooter on the team, and he's the guy most likely, I think, to take some of these shots if they do come up. And so now this isn't like a full like sprinting pin down or things that sometimes you imagine when talking about off-ball shooting, but he's able to move a little bit, catch and shoot, and I wouldn't be shocked if more of that is incorporated this year for Minnesota. And now we're going to go back to Lu'Kai Patterson, who, similar to Mike Mitchell, he kind of has that off-ball movement capability shooting to him. Some of the other guards do as well for sure for Minnesota. These are just the guys I'm highlighting for this specific video, but you're going to see Patterson catch the ball here. And Charlotte didn't run like an insane amount of off-ball shooting stuff either, but this is an example. Patterson's going to throw to kind of the wing extended right here, the slot up here. And now he's going to come off this flare screen. So you're going to see a flare screen set up at the top of the key. And so now he's able to catch this on the move, get his feet set, and then fire up a three from deep and be able to knock it down. In a similar vein to that is, even if there isn't maybe as much off-ball movement shooting, there could be just more off-ball movement in general, getting more cutters to the rim, guys like Garcia, Parker Fox, just getting them shots near the rim in more creative ways rather than just relying on a pick and roll guy. Not that that is a bad thing by any means, but I think personnel just might dictate this a little bit more. So we're going to look at an example here, kind of a high pick and roll. Minnesota's in their motion offense, and Garcia's going to slip this screen, so nothing really happening. But now you're going to see as the ball is swung, kind of just keep watching Garcia here. So high pick and roll. Mitchell does a good job refusing it, and so I think things like this, if you can get guys attacking downhill, and I guess this did involve a pick and roll, but like even just guys that catching on the perimeter and being able to attack closeouts, now you get downhill. Garcia was already in position before, being able to kind of cut and catch that pass and now go up and finish. So another example, but this time going to be from Parker Fox. He's going to have the ball up here, kind of flow. Okay, another screen. Nothing really happening so far for Minnesota's offense. 12 seconds left on the shot clock. That is part of what Northwestern wants to do defensively. So now as Garcia catches, this is where sometimes they'll ISO him. He's going to kick it back out to Christie. And like I said last play, so just, and I know Christie isn't on the team, but like guys like that of more wing kind of shooters, they have some guys on the wing that can be kind of facilitators as well, which will be interesting. If they can get downhill, now they're going to put pressure on the defense to rotate and just kind of figure out what they need to do. So now this time, Christie's going to draw in the defense and then have a nice drop-off pass for Fox, who's able to finish at the rim. Moving to the defensive side of the ball, one thing that stands out is the rim defense for Minnesota. They were 89th percentile in terms of defending the rim, but they were also in the 89th percentile in terms of rim attempts. So basically they did a really, really good job of defending the rim, but now it's going to be on Garcia and Fox even more to kind of help them defend there. Now, you're going to see here, Nebraska's flowing in their normal offense, now a high pick and roll. Payne's going to be kind of up at the level with Mass being a legit pick and pop guy. Nebraska's going to keep flowing. And so this is where, okay, if the five-man gets drove on, which in this case could be like Parker Fox or somebody like that, there's got to be help elsewhere. And so now on the kick out, again, like this is going to just be on Garcia of being able to kind of stay in front and be really just more versatile defensively, defend on the perimeter, but still help protect at the rim. And he does a little bit of both right there. So this time it's going to be focusing more on Parker Fox, who is playing the 4 in this spot, kind of next to Pharrell Payne. But again, I think Minnesota will have more guys. They also have like Trey Edmonds, guys like that, who have a little bit more mobility and still being able to protect the rim. You're going to see here with the screen, Fox is going to be somewhat of a drop, still be able to get back out. And again, so it's just like, can guys be able to do that for Minnesota? Because Minnesota doesn't usually send a ton of help. They pretty much stay on the perimeter. We're going to talk about that in a second and try to eliminate threes. But that puts pressure on guys like Parker Fox, Garcia, Trey Edmonds of like being able to just kind of be able to guard out on the perimeter and also still help protect the rim like they do right there. Now, I just talked about Minnesota limited a lot of threes. They were only 316th, pretty bad in terms of defensive three-point percentage, but they just didn't allow a lot of attempts. So in some ways it balances out, some ways not. We're going to look at a play here. MSU's kind of going through their offense. You're going to see Minnesota's, that's going to be a flat hedge from Pharrell Payne, putting pressure on the kind of other defenders to rotate, but they do their job, and so now they can kind of rotate back out. You're going to see kind of right here is one part of what I'm talking about, really just kind of trying to close out hard. Okay, and now I'm going to force a little bit of a drive and one-on-one right here. And so instead of giving up that, even semi-open three, we're going to keep making the offense try to work. Nothing happens from there. Another high ball screen, and pretty much the same thing again. You're going to see Garcia be here, and now he's going to close out and just force Hall into a pull-up instead of a catch-and-shoot threes. Now, even if you don't allow a ton of threes, being 316th in terms of defensive three-point percentage, something's going to be going wrong for that to happen more often than not. That one, at that point, probably isn't just shooting luck. We're going to look at an example right here. And so you're going to see there isn't the best guard defense, and so I think that should be a point of emphasis of if the guards can be a little bit better defensively, it'll take pressure off of some of the bigs. Thorne's going to be able to get downhill now, and so you're just going to see Minnesota doesn't always allow a ton of passing because, you can even see it, for an example here, especially with Payne in position, being around the rim. There's no reason for guys on the weak side to really help over at all. Sometimes teams will have their big up here and the low man pretty much where Payne is, and that's where skip passes can come in. Instead, Minnesota likes to stay at home more, and so they're going to live with kind of those types of shots. And Minnesota also really struggled defensively against the pick and roll. They were in the 13th percentile against pick and rolls last season. We're going to go through an example here. I just went through one last time where it's kind of that pull-up three. Here, you're going to see Payne up kind of at the level, kind of a flat hedge. That puts pressure on this weak side guys to be able to come over and help on the roll. And then if that doesn't happen, then that means there's going to be a bucket. Now, they do a pretty good job here of getting back, but now the Ball State defenders can be able to get by Cameron Christie on the perimeter, get downhill, and then help convert at the rim. Even right there, you can see Pharrell Payne. He's kind of a step, maybe a half step behind in terms of being able to help recover, but still not a ton of help even on the drive. Just kind of living with a little bit more of one-on-one stuff is what Minnesota tries to do. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and click here for even more Minnesota preview content.